Hey everyone, TeamFightTonka here. Patch 10.24 has been out for almost a week. So what have we learned? We've learned that Zed is strong again, Talon is an absolute mistake to play, and going to level 9 might be the best path to success. So after about 20 games and climbing 200 LP, and then losing 200 LP, but then climbing 200 LP again, it seems like going to 9 is the most consistent way to top 4. So if we look at this match history here, we were sort of figuring out the patch in these first couple games. Then we tried only reroll comps through these games, and then actually trying to force level 9 and get there more consistently by playing stronger boards. I found myself on a win streak again. But I'm showing you this for the grain of salt because, like, no matter how much you sort of follow this guide, you're still going to hit losing streaks, and that's totally fine. So today's episode of How It Works will be a hopefully quick rundown on why level 9 is important, and then some tips on how to consistently get there if you lack direction in early and mid game. Please like and subscribe if you like this type of content. It means a lot to me, shows me I'm not wasting my time doing this. I stream Monday to Friday from 9:30 to 4 p.m. PST on Twitch at the link above my head. Pop by, I'll teach you what I can. Maybe you can teach me some things. Anyways, it is time to learn how to get to 9, so let's get to it. Wait, why don't the colors match? Okay, so why is level 9 important? So, I mean, it's kind of a big meme because people seem to be divided on it, but really you're going to 9 because you want these sweet 5 cost units. Unlike previous sets, there is basically no 5 cost unit that feels bad. I mean, sure, you can argue that you want Yone over someone like Lilia, but you're putting together a level 9 board, you're probably not passing her up. Like, there is no unit here that I'm like, oh, trash, I'm not putting them in my board. All their abilities are excessively strong, which they should be for a 5 cost unit. I mean, in most cases, 2-star 5 cost units are stronger than a single synergy trait. So, for example, it's always going to be more important for me to put in Kane 2 than it's going to be to keep something like 4 Spirit or 3 Elderwood or some crap like that, right? So if you're playing a Seat Warmer Chosen, something like a Yumi or like a Spirit Kindred or some Brawler, Vanguard, then 9 is also going to be the time that you want to dump that and go for a 5 cost Chosen, since it's the first time you can get them, and their power spike is just absurd. So aside from getting the extra board slot, which is also important, the goal of level 9 is to start adding in 5 cost units and transition your board to a 5 cost board, which it makes sense, right? There's no world where I think running 2-star 3 cost units or even 2-star 4 cost units should be chosen over trying to put together a board of the strongest, most elusive units in the game, right? It just makes sense. They are the end game, so that's what you want to try to get to when you're playing with this build. Okay, so let's go over how we get to 9. So I want to put up a big disclaimer. I mentioned it at the start, but like all guides, this is not a one-size-fits-all. Sometimes you're going to be unlucky, or other times you're going to be offered a better route, something like perfect Z items or chosen divine with Warwick kickers, like etc., shit like that. So while this is going to walk you through generally getting to 9, it's going to be just as important that you know when to deviate from what I'm saying and commit to a build that's being handed to you. Like if you hit a Hunter Kindred, then maybe your goal might not be to rush 9. It might be to stabilize at 8 with something like 4 Hunters or just an example like that, right? So getting to 9 generally involves 3 things. So 1 is slamming items, 2 is good econ skills, and 3 is being able to utilize minor synergies. So for slammable items, if you're looking over here, if you look at my match history, there is a extremely high chance that Chalice is in almost every one of my games. Chalice is not as good as its big brother Zeke's, but it's also so much easier to get. And for the boards that you end up playing in the builds I'm going to go over, it's arguably better because of the mana and the AP. You're looking to cast spells with these early builds. I made a video before about slammable items, but the general rule of thumb is that for every 3 components you have, you should really be trying to make 1 item. even if it's not optimal, even if it's not the best item, um, because this method of going to level 9 can be somewhat greedy econ wise at certain intervals. So it's almost never the right call to double down on the greed, right? So if I'm going to greed for my econ, I'm going to be slamming my items to make up for that. You're looking for lockets, guardian angels, thief's gloves, redemptions, basically all these like random great one-off items that work in all comps, because at the end of the game, they're going on your 5 cost board anyways, right? So you want to be able to have things that fit on Kane or fit on Lee Sin or fit on any 5 cost unit, which are these items basically. This is not a board. This is just like examples of who can carry some of these items, right? So those 3 things I mentioned, the slamming items, good econ skills, minor synergies, they all go hand in hand. Because you're going to always be trying to buy pairs and look for small synergies to go with whatever chosen you take, to make sure you're not breaking the bank and you're not bleeding out health. So we're slamming items like this to make sure that you don't need to roll large amounts of gold at certain intervals, because you're trying to make up for having a potentially weaker total unit strength with much better item strength. It's been said many times, but the most effective way to play a board is to think of frontline tanks, backline damage. If you have no frontline, then your backline units die before they kill anything, and if you have no backline, your frontline absorbs damage for no one. So getting in early 2-star vanguards or brawlers with decent 2 or 3 cost carries can easily carry you through level 6. Especially if you also manage to hit a DPS chosen, right? Something like Spirit Teemo, Spirit Kindred. The idea here is not so much to win every match, but you're trying to mitigate as much damage as possible early while econing. So by minor synergies, I'm talking about things like 2 Spirit or 2 Hunter or 2 Sharpshooter, things where you generally don't give it a lot of thought unless you're going for the larger tier of that, but putting in an Aphelios with a Kindred makes her slap early. Putting in a extra sharpshooter with your Teemo just blinds more targets. We're going to go over Teemo in a second here, but like look for those easy minor synergies with these decent characters so that you can really just try to glide through that early mid game. Okay, so what units and synergies are we looking for early to get you through that early game in a healthy way? So early game, you're looking to pick up basically all the cultists or all the warlords as your board up to Krugs. Basically, what you want is to have a 3-piece warlord or a 3-piece cultist board. If you get a good chosen, obviously you run that instead. Maybe that even sort of defines how you'll play the game. But these examples we're going over are going to be under the impression that you have no clear path laid out for you. Maybe you hit like an Elderwood Maokai and you're like me and you're like, no, please no. This basically so this means picking up all your TFs, all your Elises, your Garens, your Nidleys, at least until they're 2-starred, in the hopes that you can pull a 2 to 3 cost to complete those synergies. So hopefully you get the Pike or the Jarvan or I don't know, like Callista, something that can complete your 3-piece synergy. You're not going for both. You're getting all those units, and then whichever one you hit first, you sort of dump the rest. Except for Elise and Jarvan, you'll always hold those ones. So what this does is it basically sets up all the frontline you need, as Galio is going to be your tank in the cultist build, and the 3 200 plus HP units in Warlord are going to be your tanks. Regardless of which one above you find, the other 3 units that you play in an ideal situation, which I can generally hit all the time, are Teemo, Kindred, and another keeper. So these 3 are down here because they both fit in both builds. Your ideal board is Cultist or Warlord plus Kindred, Teemo, and a keeper. J4 is the ideal warlord. I would argue that he's probably the necessary warlord because he gives keeper synergy. So why do we pick Kindred and Teemo? Basically, the spirit synergy's fallen off, but the 2-piece bonus from these 2 already insanely amazing early units is great. If you have played recently, you know how early Teemo basically invalidates Galio and most of your team, and he's super annoying, and I hate him. But his blind might be the strongest early game ability. Mix that with Kindred's huge burst and potential to hold literally all your damage items throughout the entire game, and you're golden. You might not win every round, but they're going to guarantee you kill at least 2 to 3 people unless someone's crazy high rolling, right? So as the game progresses, you can look to keep 2-starring your board while adding in Hunter or Sharpshooter at level 7. So I'm going to say that point again. You're looking to 2-star your board if you're going to level 9. There is almost no case where you are looking to 3-star any of these units if you're trying to get to level 9, because the econ that you're wasting for it is not worth it, because that 3-star 1-cost unit, it's not a 5-cost unit, and you're going to be looking for 5-cost units. I see this time and time again, just watching other low elo streamers or even just some of my friends play. They will randomly be holding 5, 6, 7 Tom Kenches, even though 3-star Tom Kench is not in any build that they're going to be going. You just need to understand that 2-star is where you live when you're going to level 9. Yeah, obviously there are some different situations to that, depending on chosen, but like I said, if you have direction to a build, then you don't need to really take any of this into account. So it should be noted that I do almost always roll at least 10 gold, but sometimes up to 20 at level 6 or 7 to stabilize. If you don't have to, that's great, and it's for the best, but you need to be able to keep up with other people's power spikes throughout the game, which people are generally starting to hit power spikes at 3-2 when they go to 6, 4-1 when they go to 7, and then at or a few rounds before 5-1. I'm still not sure when the most ideal time to hit 8 is. But you start to see a lot of spiking between 4-3 and 5-1. So it's usually a good idea to sell off your 1 to 2 cost chosen at 8 and roll down a bit there as well. But if you run and get to 8 in a healthy spot, then you need to do your best not to panic, even though everyone else is spiking, and save gold to get to 9. So what I mean by that is you could be getting beaten by someone at level 8, but you need to look at their gold, because by the time you hit 8, if you've sort of been playing the board as I've mentioned, and you're being a bit more greedy with your gold, you should be at level 8 with about 40 or 50 gold. So if you end up losing to someone at level 8 very hard, but they have 10 gold, it means that they've zeroed out, right? They're not going to hit level 9 anytime soon. If you manage to stay healthy, you can take a couple losses. That's the best key method to figuring out how strong you are, is comparing your gold. Obviously, if someone is zeroed out at level 8 and you have 50 gold, they have effectively spent 50 gold to get stronger than you, so it is understandable that they've stomped you. But your goal is to get to 9, so just try not to panic. You're going to start to pick up any and all 5-cost units and fit them into your board as you go. If you hit a crazy 4-cost chosen and can see a direction for a new comp, then you take it, because you already got through what I consider the toughest part of the game, and that's the early bit. You want to hit 9 with at least 20 gold, but generally a lot more, because there's nothing worse than going to 9 and realizing you don't have the gold to roll, or worse, that you can't afford the 5-cost chosen that you see, because it's 15 gold. So if you zero it out, it might end up costing you a turn or two to actually buy that unit, and that sucks. Okay, so that was my rundown on sort of how to get to level 9, or sort of what you're thinking about doing to get there safely. I want to go over one more small thing. This is super high risk, super high reward. Sorry, high risk, potentially high reward. Some games you just get dumpster trash and can't figure out what to play or how to pull it together. Well, there's a comp for that, and it involves putting in 3 fortune and cashing out at a 6+ loss streak. For games when I can't pull anything, or I can't make that cultist or warlord start, just due to bad luck or being bad, I will try to fit in fortune. Especially if you hit an early cat or drinks, I'll almost always try to play fortune for at least a little bit. Basically, the theory behind it is that if you're losing, you might as well be losing with a purpose, right? That purpose being a cash out. the strat behind this is basically banking your comeback on a huge payout. I'm sure you've seen on the subreddit, but Leduc made a breakdown for all the fortune payouts. And from personally playing, it seems like 6 fortune is the earliest payout that has the potential to sort of instantly give you a top 4, as it can grant you 3/5 cost units, 2 Nikos, I think an item or two, and then a bit of gold. I've completely turned around a game because of a 6 fortune cash in, which gave me 2 Nikos and Yon. So I had an instant Yon 2 at level 7. The idea behind this is that depending on how hard you're bleeding, once you hit that 6 loss threshold, you basically try to level and spend all your gold to make sure you can cash out. Because your game has changed. It's no longer about hitting top 4 or saving econ to get to a point. If you are at this 6 loss streak with a fortune payout on the line, the only thing that matters is hitting a win and cashing out, because you're never selling that fortune at 6 without cashing out. I don't think it ever makes sense. You go for that cash out no matter what. Sometimes you'll lose anyways, but there are some games when it really all comes down to cashing out. So it's a strat that you should keep in mind if you can't hit anything and you hit that early Jinx or Cat. You still slam items all the same, and you'll eventually try to get to level 9 with this board, because it's really just about making you strong enough to get to that end game, which cash outs can definitely do. So just a kicker build to keep in mind. If everything else goes wrong, just pray to RNG. Okay, that was a little longer than I anticipated, but that is it. That is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if this works for you, if you have any suggestions on what we could change. I am looking to climb myself, so I'm always happy to help people who might feel a little stuck in Plat or Diamond and just can't get over that barrier. These are the thoughts that go through my head, so hopefully they help you get to where you're trying to go. Anyways, if you have suggestions for other videos, other content you want to see me do, please leave a comment below, like, subscribe, all that good crap. Catch me on Twitch, and good luck in the climb, guys.